Welcome to Fargo Talks Fargo, an unofficial podcast on the FX television series. Fargo Talks Fargo is hosted by me, Bill, and my buddy Sharpie. Doot doot. This season of Fargo Talks Fargo is sponsored by Fargo Brewing and their Wood Chipper IPA. Visit fargobrewing.com to find out more. Also, brought to you by Audible. Visit audibletrial.com/Fargo Talks Fargo and sign up, and we get some credit for it, and you can hook yourself up with a free 30-day trial. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show, but this week, we've been having a lot of schedule stuff going on. Usually we've had guests, but we're really excited this week to have your close friend, Joe Riley. They call him JR. No, they don't. Back on the show. Sorry, that's an inside joke.
You can call me anything.
They can call you Joe. I just call you Joe Riley. Back on the show, who is also one half of grillingaddiction.com that Sharpie also helps do. And I feel like I'm talking about this right off the bat. Have nothing to do with Fargo, but we're going to do it. You guys are going to do it.
Yes.
The podcast for Grilling Addiction is coming back. Mark our words this time. That said, the gift of the Magi.
Here we are.
Yes.
It is war.
It's war, Ma.
So we all knew it was coming, and now we're in it. We're halfway through the season. We're more than halfway through now, if you've seen episode 5, The Gift of the Magi. And we are full-blown in a bloodbath.
Oh, we're in the shit now.
I can't believe it's halfway through.
I thought the same thing when I was typing up last week's thing, and I actually wrote episode 5. I thought, damn, halfway done. I don't like the sound of that. I do, but I don't.
Every episode to this point's obviously been really good, but this, I was waiting for this episode. Not to say that it was better, worse, whatever, but this was the payoff kind of, you know?
Or at least it really got the juices going.
Yeah, right.
The wind-up everything is winding up, to be a pretty tight little situation, and this is just the sort of release that everybody was waiting for.
Yeah, I knew Hanzee was going to be a badass, so now it's confirmed.
I think I like the fact too that it was constructed in a way that it didn't build to the end of the episode to this corral shootout.
Right.
I like the fact that it was like, hey, here's this voiceover of Ronald Reagan.
Which was perfect.
And then right over it is just like, boom.
Mayhem.
It's going on. It's going on. I thought it was fantastic, but...
So I thought that speech was pretty interesting because that is an actual speech from Ronald Reagan.
Yes, it is.
And so we know that he's famous for doing that speech when he announced his candidacy in 1979, which is the year we're in. But that was in November. The time that he is noted, the time that the speech was like most notable was 9 days after the Iranian hostage crisis.
Yeah.
Or the Iran hostage crisis, rather. And that was in November, but we do know that he did test out elements of that speech prior to that in smaller communities, so I think that's what we're seeing here. It's him testing out that speech, because we know it's around March. And I was looking at all the calendars to see how much time had passed, and calendars in the background, and there is a calendar right behind Hanzee when he puts Rye's belt buckle on the table. And you can't really see the month, but you can see where the days start in the month. And interestingly, March and November, the first is both on the same day.
Oh.
Really?
So I thought that was kind of weird. So I was like, wait, we didn't skip forward to November, because I know that speech happened in November.
Well, I was actually kind of paying attention to I guess not paying attention to, but I noticed the weather, and there's some snow, but it's not
right.
Obviously the middle of winter, and I actually was wondering that. I was like, well, it's either before or after.
It's after.
December, January, February kind of.
Yeah.
So.
And then when I thought they were hunting too, I'm like, you can't wait. So what?
You don't typically hunt in March.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
It'd
be now. It'd be November,
which is deer hunting.
But it is. I'm pretty sure it's still
right.
November.
I mean, and let's.
It's not like they're going out and getting deer tags. I mean, they're hunting they're hunting deer with shotguns, rifles, and bow and arrow.
Which is,
they could be shooting slugs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, buckshot or what. It's not like that doesn't happen. But that was one thing I did notice too.
Doesn't usually happen with a horde of gangsters.
Right. And like just all the guns laid out on the trunk and everything, and like I just couldn't help but the twins, the
kitchen brothers.
Yeah,
the prog rock
I
band.
love that they still just fucking wear those that get up and the leisure suit and shit. And they're traipsing through the snow in these like leather shoes,
and then their choices are still sawed-off shotguns.
Yeah. Well, clearly they're not out for deer. They're just watching. Joe's back.
I think they would be doing it that way either way.
Yeah, right.
I think they really would.
Maybe they're out for some grouse and some pheasant.
Yeah,
maybe
right.
something like that.
At really close range.
Okay, so we kick off with a little bit of that split screen intro action, and in one of those cells we see Dodd and Hanzee talking in the distance.
Is he Hanzee or Honzee, man? You guys are freaking me out right now because I've been saying Honzee.
I think it's either.
Okay.
Potato.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to start calling him Joe Bullo then. Just kidding. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so Dodd and Hanzee. Dodd and Hanzee.
I don't know. Now I want to play it back and find out.
And
Sorry.
beer.
Beer.
Okay, so you see Hanzee and Dodd sort of in the distance conversing a little bit. So clearly this is where Hanzee's talking to Dodd and saying, "Hey, look, man, I found your bro's belt buckle. And, it was in this guy's fireplace." So that's when the conniving starts to happen. The gears start turning for Dodd, and how can he turn... This is how cold he is. Like, how can he turn his brother's death into an advantage for him? He's not even really thinking about Rye, I don't think. You don't see a lot of emotion about the fact that his brother's dead.
I don't think he's actually capable of... The only emotion we've seen him be fully capable of having is when he feels like he really disappointed his mother.
Yeah.
And
that was a weird scene where he
weird.
laid on her shoulder there in the back of the car.
I think there was a little bit of he thought he was...
Well, not weird in the sense like I don't feel like it fit the show. I mean, it was weird just like
I'm just
to
wondering,
see him that way.
I'm just wondering now that he's lied to her about the butcher of Laverne, if even the play in the car wasn't real.
Oh, sure. Could be.
Yeah, he was I feel like he knew what he did, and he's doing
just searching for his way of, manipulating the situation. I don't know if you want to call it, say, he's a sociopath or whatever.
He's a total
of course he is. I mean, he's a, brutal murderer starting from when he was 8 in
maybe
a movie
he's not a
theater.
sociopath. He's just a fucker.
But in any case, it's weird because I'm kind of and you guys correct me or not correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe you guys don't see it this way at all. But in the same way that I rooted for
Lauren,
Walter White, I catch myself like I'm kind of going for Dodd.
Oh,
like I realize he's the darkest, worst asshole, woman beating, you know what I mean, like guy. But
you're going for Dodd.
I like the aggression. I guess it's because
he makes it interesting.
And he moves the story forward.
Right.
I'm not saying that I approve of his methods. I'm just saying like I sort of, like, let's not kid ourselves. They are a crime family. Like, I like to see him being that character, like his father. He's being like his dad. He's doing what his dad would do. It's like, take no shit from anybody. You mess with us, you're gonna get fucking killed. We're gonna kill you.
Is it that you like that he also drives the tension and the violence? Is that what it is?
Yeah, and he drives the, obviously the story forward. I mean, without him, there wouldn't be war. He's making sure it's going to happen because that's what he wanted from the beginning. And I like that in the story. I like the, fuck it, let's go. This is it. I don't take shit from him because I feel like
he's full throttle.
If you were a successful crime family, you'd need that.
You need an asshole.
Yeah, of course.
So
I can dig it.
So we got Dodd and Hanzee now making this plot to essentially start the war, which I thought was a little bit weird because they go to Floyd, they twist the story a little bit, they invent this character, the Butcher of Laverne. They really just drive it into her in the sense of like, these guys are awful. we got to go down on, we got to come down hard on KC, and they're setting up this war that they've always wanted. And I thought it was interesting how Hanzee is just like so loyal to Dodd, even though he's not a dumb guy. He knows Dodd's like evil and conniving, I think, but is he just as much that way? I don't know. It seems like he has morals more so than Dodd would, but yet he still falls into Dodd's game plan.
He has an interesting look in that scene to his face where he's looking at Dodd and he's towing the line, but at the same time he has a look like, watch his eyes go back and forth to Floyd, that he seems slightly uneasy about the lie he's telling Floyd.
Right, that's what I mean.
I don't know if he's uneasy with it.
Maybe not uneasy. I don't know if he enjoys it.
I think it's a prime example of, what he considered Dodd his best friend. I don't know, but it's definitely that alpha male leader, relationship. Like, I don't think that Hanzee, whatever,
I'm so sorry to say whatever you want.
is as comfortable. I don't want to say he's not as comfortable taking orders from Floyd, but I think, we see or hear a little bit from Bear where he talks about him coming into the family when he was 9 years old and never complained and all that.
Yep.
Well, I think he looks to Dodd as the leader because he always looked to their dad as the leader. Okay. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's my, I don't know.
So the war goes down. We kick it off with that. I love how Kansas City is finagling with the government officials. So they're meeting with this. They're going hunting with this zoning commissioner. So they're basically getting in the pockets of all the politicians, trying to weasel their way into government and into politics to basically control the region. Right before this commissioner goes down, I thought he had something interesting to say because it's going along with the message that Reagan is saying that is kind of going over the top of this. And he says, I believe this nation hungers for a spiritual revival. And then he goes, watch and learn, boom, gets shot in the head. So the fact that he's saying, I believe this nation hungers for a spiritual revival is kind of what Reagan is doing in his speech. He's using religion to grasp a situation where a country is not feeling confident in their government. He's using religion. He's talking about the Pilgrims and how they came and they were going to be this shiny city on a hill. And that is essentially equating America as to like a new Israel, right? And the Pilgrims as like the next Jesus. And he's creating he's using this religion to gain some power and to gain some fans and get the vote. And I thought that was really interesting. If you want to read more about that, there's an interesting book out there, and it's called The God Strategy, and it's all about American politics and how they use religion to make gains and basically use Christianity for strategy.
Well, it's interesting too, even with his comments about the longbow.
Yeah, right.
That plays into exactly what you're saying as well.
Sure. Yep, exactly. So go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Well, what I was going to say was I'm still stuck on the Hanzee thing, so while you guys have been talking, I'm listening, but I scrubbed back through it with just the closed captions on, and here's why I don't think she buys Dodd all the time. There's that scene, and there's something about Hanzee won't lie to me, because remember when he was saying, oh, it was this, he was marked, and she pounds her hand on the table, and she says, I want to hear it from him.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying that somehow she actually trusts Hanzee. She trusts Han Solo
to tell the truth, yeah.
To tell the truth more than her own son.
Well, because I think she knows Dodd's motives.
Yeah, but I think this is. I guess I'm bringing it up because I think this is going to come back.
I freaking loved how excited he was.
Yeah,
when
he was
came
just
back in the
giddy.
kitchen, he had that apple, and he was like, "They're gonna come back at us hard," Like he was just so happy. Yeah, he was so happy.
It's like he's ruined the Garden of Eden. He's eating that apple.
He got what he wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Eating the apple.
Yeah. Well, since you're bringing that up, should we play?
So he comes into the kitchen with that apple, and it goes down
in the belt
like
buckle.
this.
Just a great scene.
Here we go.
Oh yeah.
We got him.
Bulotu?
Oh yeah.
The flinch
No, it
there.
wasn't.
The
He's
other thing
happy
too is
about
that you
somebody
notice,
that's gonna want to come kill them.
I don't know if these
Yeah.
things mean anything, but it was the
Try.
only red apple in that whole bowl of fruit. Everything else was green and yellow. But Sharpie found something interesting, and that was the fact that the "we got him" thing was
It just
A
made me
blast
think
of-
of the time when we caught Saddam Hussein, when
Right.
the United States
Which-
captured Saddam Hussein, and Joe Bulo looks pretty freaking close to Saddam Hussein.
Husseini. Oh wait, here
Coming out of that
you go, Sharpie.
rat hole.
Here
Here's
we
your
go.
clip.
Here's the clip. Press
Ladies and
conference.
gentlemen,
From C-SPAN.
we got him.
Hey.
So I don't
nice.
know if that was just a coincidence that he happens to look a lot like Saddam Hussein, or if maybe that they made him look like that to foreshadow, him getting captured. But I mean, he wasn't
Yeah, I don't
beheaded or
Right.
anything. But I thought it was interesting. Because that just saying that phrase, like they could have said anything else, but they said we got him. So more to this like sort of like friction between the family. We start to see a lot of since we're talking about the Gerhardts and we're talking about the war. We're seeing the two brothers, Bear and Dodd, get further and further apart, and I thought that was really interesting. First of all, we see a lot of emotion coming out of Bear right away when he finally comes to the realization that Rye is dead and Rye is no longer.
Yeah.
And we see this big bear crying, and the audience is going. He's already captured the audience. We already know he's a softie. He's just that big bear. He's just a big huggable bear,
Mhm.
and it shows out. It comes out even more because he knows Dodd and Honzee are up to no good. He knows that that was a lie. I'm sure.
I like the crying too because it was like, excuse me, blink and you missed it. It wasn't
Yeah.
an over the top breakdown thing. It was just a very subtle.
Solitary tear.
And I went back and looked, and it was actually
Both eyes.
both
Yeah.
eyes, yeah. But regardless, it was like an acceptable cry.
Mhm.
You know what I
At
mean?
least for you. Like
Well-
one more tear and you would have been like, you pussy
Yeah,
there.
right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Your brother died. You.
Well,
fuck
he's a classic
pussy.
middle child, I think.
Definitely the weird
I
one.
mean, if you ever read the birth order book, you have the American families that have 3 children. They all fall in a very specific thing, and there's something middle childy about Bear, about how he's just in the middle, and he's not the wild card that the youngest is, and yeah. Anyway, I thought too that the scene that you're talking about, that they're separating and then they're even on different sides of the porch. It makes me start. The more we talk about it, it makes me start to wonder if Dodd dies, at whose hand will he die? And I'm starting to wonder if there's a really, really
it could be Bear.
It could be Bear.
Oh, that line where he's giving him shit about taking orders from a woman, and then he's like, obviously, we don't know too much about Bear's wife, ex-wife, whatever. Obviously, probably not ex-wife. I'm guessing she passed away, but maybe that's already been covered. But
Let's play.
That
Do
was
you have
so
that
funny.
queued up, Bill?
Yeah, I do.
Let's
Here.
play this this conversation because I think it's pretty important. For some reason I'm all about foreshadowing with this episode, and I think this quick little 1-minute segment, and it has to do. It has what you're talking about, Joe. It's going to be kind of pivotal, or not maybe pivotal, but it's going to come back to us down the road. So let's hear what these two have to say to each other.
What the hell are you doing? Get back to work. That's my man. You need to talk to him, you talk to me first.
Last time I checked, everyone here worked for one person. Ma.
You actually like it, huh? Taking orders from a woman. Is that how it was in the bedroom with Cassie?
Don't you talk about her.
She strap one on, bend you over the bed, and show you who's boss?
There's gonna be a reckoning one day, brother.
Anyone notice
All
the dog
souls are
barking where
called
he's
to account
basically
for their
mentioning
actions.
doggy style?
right,
In the end, we all get what we deserve.
that just can't be anything other than foreshadowing.
Right.
In the end.
So here's what I think about that. I mean, that I think is just laying it all out on the table for us in the sense that
Yeah, that's not so subtle.
Bear's clearly a Gerhardt that everybody's on the side of. Everybody loves Bear. Everybody knows that
Except
Dodd
me.
is the bad guy.
Nah,
So
I don't know about
I
that.
think that I think that I think Bear's going to come out of this season unscathed, or he's going to survive. Dodd's obviously not. I think that's what this one sentence, this one conversation kind of foreshadows.
I just thought of this, so not to jump off this subject, but as you were saying that, I was thinking, wow, is Bear going to be the one that ends up with the shiny red apple? And then I started to think, well, interesting that Dodd came into the kitchen after that scene and grabbed a shiny red apple. I don't know again if that's
Bear
getting
only
too
eats
into it, but
Bear only eats meat on the bone
Right.
so far. Is what we've learned.
lives on turkey legs.
And and Dodd just ate the poisonous apple.
Right. I just feel like there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for here, Bill?
Symbology.
Yes. Symbolism.
Lemon swimmy.
Symbology.
Well, in our new pseudo breakdown, we didn't hear anything bad from anybody about the way we kind of changed a little bit about how we break the show up here. So that was our big section on the war. But I don't think it means anything. But in the hot dish, I said, hey, where the hell was Mike Milligan? What was up with that?
Yeah, that was interesting.
And so when I rewatched, I finally was like, oh, he was there. He was there at the hunting scene. He's the one who showed up. He said something, and they were like, we got a problem. He's like, nope. But then he goes and gets back, and I wondered who's that other guy that he got in the car with.
He was there, huh?
And what's interesting, knowing what we know, spoilers, everything, is that when he got in the car with that guy, he was in the front seat.
Yeah.
When he rides with the Kitchens, they're both up front. He's in back, and even after the Kitchen brother was dead in the one scene, it was still Mike Milligan in the back seat. Like, not going to sit in your chair. But Sharpie had a note here. Sorry, I'm stealing your thing. Or please talk about your note is what I was going to say. Because after this is where we see Simone. And I talked a little bit to Sharpie about, I thought Simone was maybe, I don't know, she could come around, but I had a lot of hope for her.
Yeah.
Like, she talked a big game. And I know I've made all the jokes about the thumb and the butt, but I mean, to me, that's a woman who's taking charge of her sexuality in the situation she's in, and she knew what she was doing. And after this scene, it seemed to turn it on its head, Joe Bullo's head, evidently, that she's not as old as she's not as wise as we thought.
Oh no, I think all of her behavior is just like clear, complete daddy issue stuff. I mean, everything she's doing and the whole reason that she's getting with Mike Milligan and stuff is because of who her dad is.
Yeah, she's lost.
I don't know. That's,
Well, the other secondary thing that was happening to both this storyline between the war happening, all the other stuff I was telling Sharpie before you got here, was that there's a big pressure on many scenes that all center around the kids of the kids fucking up.
right.
This is happening because Simone screwed up and they knew where Otto was. That was the beginning of it. And
Right.
she did all these things, and you can kill my dad. That's your only way around this. And then on top of that, there's the entire scene we haven't even started talking about Dodd putting his faith in Charlie. So the two people that seem to want Dodd, his daughter who doesn't want him because he treats him poorly, but that's, like you said, yeah, daddy issues. And then the other side of the coin, Bear, who wants something else for his kid. I mean, what we're really, really seeing too, coming full circle, I think, is you look at it's corporate America coming in. They're in, quote unquote, lobbying the big companies, and not only that. I mean, and this, I feel so weird. I was just at a function for my job where we talked about farming and secession plans. And what's interesting is that even if they won this war, none of their kids are capable of taking over the family business.
Right.
Simone's fucked up.
What
I can
are
only
they fighting
imagine
for? Yeah.
I can only imagine what all the other girls, he said, wanted to give me girls. I can only imagine what the other kids are like. Rye, obviously, is too much of a screwball to have a steady girl or a wife
I think Dodd
and a
could
child.
lead.
No, I'm talking
But
about
after
But I'm
him.
saying after that. I'm
Right.
saying the generation after
Right.
that. There's nobody for this to go to. They think it turns out Charlie thinks he knows he wants to be in the family business, but we
Right.
find out in this episode that he sucks at it and he's not
Yeah, and
capable.
I think Dodd's willing to give him a shot because he's at least a boy.
He's a dude.
He's
'Cause-
at least a guy, and
because-
he finds something in
And
him.
see, that's what I don't like about Dodd. I like just the fact that he's such a
misogynist.
A misogynist and such a piece of shit about it that
he
that
is,
drives
but
me
again,
crazy.
Again, I mean, I think, you're talking about a crime family. You know what I mean? You're not talking about your everyday average farmer. You know what I mean?
No, I know. There's some amazing women in crime history, though. But I like the little touch of Joe Bulo's head in the box and the tie back to episode 2 at the hotel where they're talking about the water and that it's slippery, and then he reaches out and just touches really lightly a little bit of Joe Bulo's hair one last time.
Yeah.
Wait, is that what it is? It's Agree?
Yeah, that's the brand.
The shampoo.
That's the shampoo.
God, yeah. Fuck, that was funny.
Well, that pretty much that wraps up I think the storyline of the war, the Gerhardts versus Kansas City. What I wanted to go into next was Charlie and the Butcher. Oh, sorry, Joe.
Well, one thing I forgot to ask you guys about, I was just wondering what your guys' thoughts were. I forgot to bring this up, but how come he didn't kill the other Kitchen brother? He just knocks the shit out of him.
Right.
But it's clear that he didn't kill him.
Yeah,
why
Bill
wouldn't
and
he kill
I
him?
chatted about
Is it
that.
to send a message, or so that he can send the message?
I think somebody had to survive
to relay the message, kind of deal.
to relay the message.
Which is very medieval, like where
Right.
you have the one last guy to bring the head of the king back to the other king.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Well, maybe that's it. Yeah.
The other side of me, it gets all thinky about it, and it's like it's actually more painful for one of them to live.
Right. Okay. Sorry, we can move off that. But I mean, I
Anyway.
remember.
I'm
I
glad
wanted
you brought
to
it up, though.
specifically bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah, we chatted about it, I think really briefly in the hot dish, but I think it's worth bringing up again. So, we've got the Butcher of Laverne,
Yeah.
which is phenomenal.
Yes.
That poor old Ed
Yeah,
who was
right.
just like, could barely
Just the
harm.
good guy.
Yeah.
The complete opposit of Dodd, by the way. I
Yeah.
mean, literally, just
And
the complete opposite.
Dodd's like,
Yes.
yeah, it was the Butcher of Laverne. Contract killer. A contract killer in Laverne.
Right.
Except he's out of
He's out
the
of
Butcher
Kansas
of Laverne.
City.
He's called the Butcher of Laverne, but he's based out of Kansas City, and that's what makes me think. If you go back to that scene, that's the way the story unfolds. His lie is so shitty.
Yeah,
See, and
he's,
I was
he's not
actually-
that
I was-
bright.
Yeah, but I was going to bring that up too. Is that I think that's one of those moments, and I don't know if they wrote it to play this way or not, but the lie sucks, and it's so bad that Floyd knows it's a lie.
Mhm.
But if she can hear it from Hanzee,
she'll
then
go with
she'll
it.
go with it. And
She'll-
even though she knows it's probably bullshit, she thinks it's going to make her feel better. She's in mourning. She's in pain. She just lost her baby. You know what I mean? Like, that's, to me, I kind of thought that was part of it. Like, for her, then it was like, okay, well, I don't know if I can just go off your word, but now he says it, so okay, yeah, let's
Or
kill
maybe
this son of a
she's
bitch.
Slightly punishing Hanzee by making him lie to her face, because
That
she
could
might
be
know
too.
that's really gonna kill him to do that, and she's gonna see if he's gonna go through with it.
Right. She just found out his true loyalty.
Yep.
What if that disappointment at the kitchen table is all about what they're doing to her right now that she can't fix at the moment? What if it's not even about Rye? What if she's like, these two
Maybe.
piss ants are lying to my face,
Right.
and I'm not going to create turmoil in the family right now because you started a war.
Right. Well, yeah, because there's really nothing you can do about it at that point,
Yeah.
She's realizing her family is crumbling.
Ugh.
The eagle's nest.
So, anyways, I think she was sort of willfully allowing that to be the truth,
Yeah.
Mhm.
because I think, the war is obviously something she really wanted to avoid, but more than that, in this moment, I think she wants revenge for Rye.
I think if they would have accepted the offer, she would have made the democratic choice to barter and deal. Yeah,
For
I
sure.
agree. But her hand was completely forced.
Keep in
So-
mind this scene in the kitchen. Now that she knows Rye's gone, this isn't where she decided to have war. She already decided that before knowing Rye was even dead.
Oh no!
So
yeah,
I think that
yeah.
backs up your last point even more, Bill. Is that it's? I mean, she already was going to war. Now she knows Rye's dead. Now she knows that these two are lying to her.
She's being toyed with.
Yeah.
Here's the other reason I think.
But she also knows that it's not a good point to start an argument, you know?
Right.
I mean,
well,
obviously it has catastrophic repercussions, but
yeah, like Sharpie said, moms know when you're doing shit. Or did you say that? Was that you on the hot dish?
Yeah, I said that.
Who else would I have been talking about on the hot dish? Holy crap.
Yeah. Like when you're mooning people in the back of a Ford Explorer in 8th grade.
Yeah, but I mean,
we don't need to go into
that. That's why she steps in too, even with the Simone talk in the kitchen out of nowhere. Simone is getting a talking to from her dad, and boom, she's there, and she's like, "You go."
That was a bold scene.
Move on, basically. She's like, "Leave her, just step off."
Yeah, that was interesting. I thought in that moment, I really thought at that point, Dodd was going to be like, you know, don't interfere. This is my daughter, kind of thing, and he allowed Floyd to control that situation.
I think, yeah. So we're gonna murder this kitchen thing if we keep talking about it, because it was a lot of stuff going on, and I think it was all important. I think Sharpie's right that it's a lot of foreshadowing of things to come, but basically there's a war in the woods that starts, and then it's an assault in the woods, and the second assault is Charlie. The scene where Dodd gives him the go ahead to be the trigger man to kill the butcher.
The butcher of Laverne from Kansas City. So this was pretty fun to watch. It was kind of heart-wrenching. There are a couple of scenes that were heart-wrenching, and I thought this one, I mean, there's obviously the deal with the Solversons, but we'll get to that later. This is Charlie's time to shine, right? Charlie's been wanting to be made this whole time. He wants to be a true gangster. He wants to be part of the pack. And now is his time to off the butcher of Laverne. And things change quite a bit once the gun is in his hand. So he goes into Bud's Meats and starts up a little conversation with the lovely Noreen. Now, this is why...
Such a great,
oh my God,
great scene. No, without knowing, when you were watching it for the first time, without knowing what was going to happen, you knew what was going to happen in a way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, just by listening to all that and...
Well, the man Charlie's with, I believe his name was Virgil, when he says, hey, there can't be any witnesses, and the first person Charlie runs into is Noreen at Bud's Meats, you immediately start to sink a little bit because she's so adorable. She's just sitting there reading her book, and she's so flirty with Charlie that you're just like, oh God, no, this cannot happen.
Right.
And you see
what's
him
really
start to
great?
sweat.
What's really great is she, in stark contrast to both Charlie and, Jesus, Joe, what's in this whiskey we're drinking? In stark contrast to, I just called her Sabrina. Holy cow, what is in this? In stark contrast to both the grandchildren in the
Simone?
Gerhardt family. Thank you, Simone. Sabrina. Jesus. In stark contrast to the both of these other children we've been partially following in this story this week, Noreen gets it.
Right.
She completely understands that it's all pointless. I mean, it's totally horrible, but she's reading the book and she's like, no matter what we do. And she, even with Ed, she's like, well, yeah, but in the end, still dead.
Yeah, but both
and Ed does not want to hear this. Ed does not want to hear this after leaving and having the conversation at home.
The shitstorm that he's in right now.
In the pat-racked basement. Yeah, he does not want to hear this.
With his hoarder wife.
Oh my gosh.
But they both,
Sharp.
both Noreen and Charlie, so they go through their whole like flirtiness, and it's fun to watch, and she's just like so cute, and it's awesome. And then, but they both do 180s in this little montage here, because Charlie goes in and he's got to kill a dude, and he's got to make sure there's no witnesses, and he's got to do the family good. Her, on the other hand, she's talking about how, life's a joke and life's pretty much pointless because you all end up dead anyway. But as the scene progresses, Charlie, the supposed, hitman, can't do it. And he fails. He turns. He's He can't
He
pull
buys
the
a
trigger.
pound of bacon.
He buys a pound of bacon. Even when he goes back in to kill the butcher, to kill Ed, he's still, very not confident in doing it. You can tell he still doesn't really want to do it. He's shaking all over the place. And so the hitman turns a 180 and can't do it anymore. And Noreen, contrary, the one who's like all about how, what's the point? We all die anyway. Instead of just like going after him or just like giving into the bullet, she starts defending herself. So like, why is she, if she's that morose, she clearly isn't as morose as her projection is, because she completely goes around and she fights for her life despite how pointless it is and how much of a joke it is, Yeah.
And I found it super interesting how at the end of the scene, she's the one who tells Ed that he's still alive and he's got to pull him out.
Yeah.
She's the one who said, why does it matter? And then all of a sudden she's the one saying, no, you got to save him.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So they both,
especially the
took
guy
some
who's trying to kill him,
there.
Everybody has a crisis of their current character.
Right.
I love the tweet we got from Lindsay on Twitter that it reminded him of Lydia from Beetlejuice.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
She might not have been wearing the clothes, but she had that attitude.
The bangs.
That same attitude. Sharpie noticed that great thing that we've seen it in the back of the scene all the time in the butcher shop at the carved wooden Indian. If you look at the way it works, Sharpie texts me and I was like, holy shit, that thing is just staring everybody down.
It's staring right at the way it's framed. The little wooden, the large wood Native American, I guess you'd say, is right in between Charlie and Noreen, but the Indian is staring right at Charlie. So I was wondering, since we were on the line of like foreshadowing stuff, I'm wondering if this is not going to foreshadow some sort of confrontation between, or some sort of conflict between Honzee and Charlie. Are their paths going to cross at some point, and how's that going to end up? I don't know, but that Indian was just a dead stare right into him.
Yeah, it was interesting. If anything, it was just fun.
It was fun.
It was just like, even if he was just the hovering Gerhardt family,
right?
Well,
you never notice anything in this show by accident. You know what I mean? It was.
I think there's a lot of intention.
Reason. Yeah,
there's a lot of intention in this show. So, well, I think right now is a good time to take a quick sponsor break and to tell everybody how much we really appreciate Fargo Brewing, located here in Fargo, North Dakota, for sponsoring this season of Fargo Talks Fargo. And so what you can do to help us out is, if you live in the area, or if you live in one of the areas they serve, you need to go to fargobrewing.com and look that up. Look up where they have their beer, what's going on, and you need to go in and order it. Oh, Sharpie opened a beer there. Joe and I do not have beer tonight. We are drinking Irish whiskey, but close enough. In the middle of my read, of course, I mentioned whiskey. But by read, I mean this is all off
the radio, Bill. They don't know that.
We don't write these things very obviously. But for real, go check them out. I mean, I know even coming up, still this coming week in Sioux Falls, right? There's a tap takeover, Sharpie.
I think that was Saturday.
Oh shit, that was last week. That was the 7th. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
But I do know that tomorrow night in just outside the Minneapolis area, they have a beer dinner happening at the Clawdaw, and I've encouraged my brother who lives that direction to go to that. So if you live in the Twin Cities area, you should go to that. Here in Fargo coming up, they have a People's Choice tap takeover going on at the Thirst Beer House with the umlauts over the U. So check that out. If you don't live anywhere near here, highly recommend you travel to an area where you can get some of Fargo Brewing's beer and check that out. Their Wood Chipper IPA is the official beer sponsor for Fargo Talks Fargo, but it is not the only beer they brew. They brew many lovely and drinkable, delicious beers. So please head to fargobrewing.com and check them out. Start, drive some web traffic their way, and they'll say, wow, we always get a bump in traffic. So all you got to do is go out to the web, put that in a browser, and go there. And that's how you help us out with the show and show your appreciation. So back to the show. Sharpie has named this section P Talk, and I think I'm going to open with just playing the this section.
Okay.
Oh. Oh, that's good. Been holding it since Ortonville. My wife puts this potpourri in the bus toilet. I can barely breathe in there.
They do like their scents.
Where'd you serve, son?
Love that line.
Mekong Delta. Swift boat patrol. 2 tours.
Well, I sure appreciate your service. Every generation has their time.
From a president who never
I
served
remember back
overseas.
in 42, America just joined the war. I was working on
Yet he feels to tell a
Operation
story about a
Eagles
movie.
for Paramount.
Yeah.
God, what a douche.
I dropped behind enemy lines trying to rescue Jimmy Whitmore and Lorraine Dave from this SS Commando. Bob Stack was on loan from Selznick. That Nazi bastard had us cornered. We were done for, but in the end, with a little American ingenuity, we managed to, Oh, no, wait a minute. Come to think of it, I don't think we made it out of that one. Or did we?
He does a great Reagan.
Oh, shit, I can't remember. Well, either way, it was a fine picture.
Especially when you can just hear him.
Right.
Yeah. It's just enough Reagan. Yep.
Yeah. He didn't overdo it at all. It's interesting, though.
Governor, I don't mean to...
This is the one thing we got to keep going.
What we
here,
did
Mark.
over there, the war, now, my wife's got lymphoma, stage 3, and lately, the state of things, well, sometimes late at night, I wonder if maybe the sickness of this world, if it isn't inside my wife somehow, the cancer. I don't know what I'm saying, except, do you really think we'll get out of this mess we're in?
Son, there's not a challenge on God's earth that can't be overcome by an American. And I truly believe that.
Yeah. But how?
A little
No
bit.
answer.
Total politician.
Yeah,
no
yeah,
actual
big time.
answer. No actual answer. So Sharpie wanted to talk about this real quick, but before he gives his little take, I've been trying to do a better job of giving things I feel are our take, our unique perspective of being and growing up in the Midwest. And we're not the only Midwest podcast on this show. I know Minnesota Public Radio does one. They just don't curse and aren't as much of an asshole as we are sometimes. This is very un-Minnesota right now for me. Nobody I know from that era would stand at a urinal and talk to somebody they don't know very well, let alone somebody they do know. Do you know what I mean? Like when you go to the bathroom.
Oh, I don't know. That happened to me at the bar last week.
No, I'm talking about as deep as this was.
Sure.
Like,
yeah, but you're also not always pissing next to the president.
I know, but if I'm standing next to the president, I'm not going to be like,
definitely not saying anything.
So
yeah.
the evil of the world's manifesting itself in my wife's cancer. That's the kind of stuff I feel.
Right,
I feel Minnesotans and North Dakotans to some degree don't like to wear their problems
Sure.
on their shoulder that way. Do you know what I
agree,
mean about
and
that?
I think up to this point, Lou's done a good job of doing that. They're
I
not
know.
exposing Molly to it very much. He's been very reserved and doesn't really talk about it very often to anybody else.
Yeah.
And I feel that this was like his one shot at talking to the next potential president of the United States.
Yeah. I know.
I don't know.
It makes for good TV.
Right.
I'm saying I get that, but I'm just saying from a perspective of like that kind of thing. Oh, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of crap that gets said to you at a urinal in a bar in an American Legion here downtown in Fargo. There's a lot of weird stuff people will tell you, but I just meant he's on a detail.
Right.
It's a really minor point, but I'm just trying to notice a few random things that I'm still like.
One thing that I noticed about this scene and then the scene in Ed's basement when they're talking about what's Ed's wife's name?
Peggy.
When they're going back and forth, and then in this scene with Lou and Reagan, when Lou's talking, he does something that to me is so very, I don't know if it's a Midwestern thing or if it's just very regional to like the upper Midwest or Minnesota type thing, but he, as I'm doing right now, starts sentences, doesn't finish them, but the conversation goes on. Everybody knows exactly what's being said and how the conversation's going on. But it's like, I just think that, it's kind of like, and then it just kind of like moves on, but like everybody knows what's being said. It just, it's freaking fantastic.
I think that's just the premise of the entire podcast for Sharpie and I some weeks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's kind of like right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally.
I,
you get that. Yeah.
As the person who edits our podcasts from time to time, there are a few times I think, what the hell did we just say? There was like a certain space of time where Sharpie and I didn't say anything, and I'm not just talking about the times we're drinking too much beer. We're like, yeah, so, well, I mean, with the thing
exactly,
and I'm like, oh man, it's totally a thing up here.
And Ed and Peg do it perfectly in the basement, and it's all over the show. I mean, this happens all the time, but that conversation that they had to go way back, but it was just perfect because they were having a serious conversation, but because of the whole like Minnesota, North Dakota nice thing, nobody will actually say the harsh part of what they're trying to say. They all get to that point where it's like, well, when we leave, well, where are we going? It's well, we're gonna go, and it's like everybody kind of dances around the.
Just say it.
Yeah, exactly. But nobody
just
does.
say it. Move on.
Yeah.
Today, Junior.
Yeah.
So
about a Billy Boy.
I think that's the heart of some of that stuff, though, and I still really do love the fact that Reagan never, in true political fashion, he
what
says,
a politician.
What with a little American gumption, we can do anything. Well, how? Pat your shoulder and then just walk away.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things within this conversation, which is why I had the P-Talk section as part of our notes, because that 3 minutes of within the show, I think there's all kinds of nuances, and you guys hit on a couple of them. I mean, the whole politician being this facade of like salvation and then not really having an answer is like perfect.
Yet comparing himself to the soldier who fought on a swift boat, one of the like toughest, dirtiest jobs that there was in like the toughest, dirtiest war on the planet.
So, being that it is Veterans Day, I talked to my father today, and I was asking him about swift boats and stuff.
I totally thought of your dad when I saw this scene. I'm not joking.
So we talked about it kind of in the past, but I figured I might as well just bring it up because it's Veterans Day. So I talked to him tonight, and I was like, so was it a swift boat that you were on? And he's like, oh, no. A swift boat would be huge compared to what I was on.
Right.
And so I was like thinking, yeah, that was totally what he was on, because I looked up the pictures, and I was like, yeah, that looks like probably what he was on. He's like, no, they were out in more of the open water or more around the coast. What he was on was called my father was called a PBR, which was Patrol Boat River, is what that stands for.
Sure.
And so a swift boat was aluminum and quite a bit larger. A PBR was, you could have up to 5 people on it. It was fiberglass, and it was actually a jet boat, which I thought was really interesting. It was essentially like a large jet ski,
like a jet ski kind of, yeah. Okay.
And that was because they could, turn 180 degrees instantly. That's why they had those. So I thought that was.
I didn't even know that kind of technology existed.
I didn't either.
Or that they would have had fiberglass. I mean, not that. I don't know. That's just interesting.
Yeah, fiberglass in a jet engine. So they would. He said they were absolutely amazing to maneuver and to drive. He said they were super fun. I mean, it's a huge jet ski. Obviously not fun when people are shooting at you. And he said they used to. He said they were like so powerful and so fast that they would water ski behind them until one of their guys got sniped water skiing.
Oh my god!
Which is just kind of nightmarish to think about.
Yeah.
He said, "Yeah, we didn't water ski after that anymore." So that was a little bit
just
of
another day fun in the sun. Yeah,
that seems very Cohen-esque.
Yeah, right,
really.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
So, and then Reagan brings up the movie that he references is Operation. Getting right back into it.
You have no fucking segue for that. I'm really happy that you just went for it. You're like, anyway, Reagan.
Crickets.
So the movie Reagan references that he was in was Operation Eagle's Nest, which we saw Molly Sulverson watching earlier this season. And I wasn't sure if that was going to be more foreshadowing. At this one, probably not so much, but Reagan's talking about how they didn't make it out of that. He didn't think they made it out of that one. So I didn't know if Operations Eagle Nest, if that's like a reference to like the Gerhardt compound being the Eagle's Nest, and whom isn't going to make it out of it. I don't know. That's pretty vague, so I don't know if that's really anything.
Didn't someone earlier in the show, one of the other episodes, refer to the Gerhardt compound as the Eagle's Nest?
I don't know.
We might want to look that up at some point. I think somebody did, but
there's certainly a plethora of like Nazi,
right,
decor.
Yeah, all the eagle, the belt buckle, the P-talk. So this episode is called "The Gift of the Magi," and I think we discussed it enough not enough, meaning we're not going to talk about it. I just meant we talked about what it was. I mean, it's in a weird way. I keep thinking, well, it's sort of a catch-22 kind of thing in a way, but husband and wife both don't have any money, and they have things that they admire about each other or a possession, and they go off. And I'm trying to sum this up as fast as I can for anyone who doesn't know what it is. The husband thinks he has a beautiful wife. They don't have money for gifts for each other, and he has this pocket watch he values more than anything, and so she wants to get him something that goes with that watch, and to do so, she goes and sells her hair. And simultaneously, he's out, and he sells the watch to buy her these awesome things for her hair.
Yeah, the combs.
In which case, they both show up back later that day, back at the ranch, and realize that now they have gotten rid of the things that those gifts go to. And the moral of the story is don't sell your watch.
At least her hair will grow back.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And you know how long he's had that uncomfortable hunk of metal up his ass?
I was going to just say the same thing.
Sorry.
Or how does? There's a great quote there.
You can take a good look.
Anyway,
up at the
that's not
butcher's
the
ass.
complete. That's not the complete thing of the gift of the Magi. But I mean, it's just the idea that it's they both were sacrificing
Right.
something so that they could do the other, and now in turn they are unable to because. And in a weird way, the tragedy of it is that they tried to do it without the other's knowledge as an act of kindness, but in turn it actually kind of fucks them over a little bit.
Well, and that exactly happens in the show.
Yeah. You want to talk about that, Sharp?
Sure. So this one was one of the more easy parables to translate because it was blatantly obvious. So Peggy finally gets like this warmness in her heart. She's trying to she realizes. I don't think she actually realizes, but I mean because. Let me just back up here. You start to see sort of this sense in her that she wants to do something good for her husband, and she thinks she's doing something great, even though we all kind of know it's too little, too late, but she doesn't see that. So what she's doing is she's getting rid of her vehicle. She's realizing, hey, I could get rid of my car and I could sell it for $700 as long as it's over $500. That's all she needed.
Yeah.
She would have taken $500, and she's like, Ed's gonna love this. Ed'll be back on my side. That'll be, maybe it's more of a selfish thing because if she does that, it'll be on her side and maybe they can eventually get out of town or whatever. But she sells the car so that Ed can have the money to buy the butcher shop. Now,
I also thought it was interesting too because again, you're seeing a 180 in a character. Now, in the same scene, you see a 180 with Ed and you see the 180 with Peggy, just like you saw with Charlie and Noreen.
Yep.
So
what? Go ahead, Bill.
The other thing too, I just wanted to say about Peggy is that she's the only character on this show. Not that I'm not suggesting we're always right about what we think about what's behind characters. I mean, obviously this is all speculation, and anyone who wants to listen to music or TV shows, you're going to read into it what you want, or to some degree what you think is right. And it doesn't mean you're right or wrong, but she is the only person outside of the fact that I don't understand why she's in it with Ed at the moment. I don't understand why he's been her real paladin, like she said a couple episodes ago. I don't understand what's driving her desire to leave, but she's still really mysterious to me. Like I don't know what it is that got her. You know, because I don't
to go or to stay
to sell the car and do that because I don't. Maybe I'm remembering
We
the wrong
didn't-
things about the episode in the basement. Is that he wasn't exactly hardcore understanding to her. They were arguing about the life he wanted to have that she doesn't. So it wasn't a complete like you're right and right. They're still
Exactly,
having
that-
that I'm talking, you've talked, and then that's it. There's no decision, and so I'm still kind of confused about what is driving her current character and her current state of mind. That just the act of putting her shit in a bag. And I mean, all the way down to that she's packing the magazines. Like the magazines.
Well,
she didn't throw in a picture of Ed.
She's
She-
wacky. I mean,
she threw in the magazines because the idea of the place and where all the places you'll go, Peggy Blomquist.
Mhm.
I just wanted to say that's her. She's a character who I can't pin down. I can't put my finger on her yet.
I agree, Bill. I'm struggling with that a little myself, and I don't know if it's just that they're trying to represent her as even more batshit crazy or what, but it's either that or it's just writing that's not quite thought out in that little section. And I think that it is confusing because if it were like completely parallel with the gift of the Magi, her selling the car seemingly would be, her giving in to the idea that they're going to stay and they're not going to be traveling around or skipping town.
yeah, I kind of think that it had more to do with she was constantly focused on herself in the sense that it was the magazines she had wanted out for a long time. I think that there's a lot of people that live in the Midwest that live especially in, cold ass, horrible climates who constantly dream of one day going out and doing something different.
Mhm.
And I think that for her, that was just always her dream. And before she could even realize her dream, she was just another person's in the same situation, stuck, and was going to end up being another, Midwestern wife with children, and her husband owned the butcher shop in Laverne, just another small town, typical Midwestern thing, which is what she didn't want. But then I think it was just sort of an aha moment, like the reality of her picking up the car, packing the bags, doing all this stuff, and then that moment where it was like, okay, this is it. This is it. This is my opportunity. I'm ready to go. This is everything I've ever wanted. And then all of a sudden the reality of like, wow, maybe Ed is a good guy. Maybe this life is good. Like, I don't know. I don't think I think she had a big turning point there in the sense that I think she started to realize that her life maybe is good and it could be good, and she was maybe looking forward to that life with Ed.
So she was,
but like
she
you
was
said, it's
actually
too little, too late.
giving in.
I mean, it's
Well, I guess she did have a moment where she stared at his photograph on the dresser.
Well, and I think too, it was the mechanic. As soon as he said, what did he say? Not pretty car, but whatever he said, cute car. No, he didn't say cute. Whatever he says there, I think for her, I'm not saying there's a lot of significance in what he said, but I just think that was that moment that went, oh man, I could right this situation, and for once in my life, be the person that I'm always wanting to be, but without going to Hollywood, or not becoming, a big movie star or something, or whatever
Sure.
her dream is. I don't know.
She remembered-
I thought it was an interesting turn.
She remembered a soft spot she had for Ed at some point in her life because that had to exist at some point. There's been so much, polarization between those two for the whole season that at some point in their lives they had to.
I think it was genuine. I don't
Yeah.
think it was guilt or anything.
Okay, right.
I think it was a genuine, turn in her character.
So her gift, her pocket watch is,
Yo.
her gift is the the money for the car. So now Ed can finally she went and blew all this money on Life Spring or Life whatever it is, and now she's got the money for Ed so he can put it back into the shop and Ed can have his dream. Erstwhile, Ed is in the butcher shop about to get murdered. Butcher shop gets burned down, so no more butcher shop. So that sort of negates her gift. Ed rushes home after making sure to tell Noreen like he saved Charlie. It was all self-defense, and then just took off running from the butcher shop. Don't try to make yourself look guilty or anything.
So the other thing too is I can't remember. I apologize because I'm crazy like that. Did I bring up Jeff Tweedy last night at all?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard Wilco.
So I don't remember. Yeah, and because I tweeted about it and we did get a response. So it's Jeff Tweedy covering Jose Feliciano's "Let's Find Each Other Tonight."
I guess I shouldn't say I heard Wilco. I heard Jeff Tweedy.
But the lyrics to that song are "Let's find each other tonight. Everything will be all right. Don't hesitate now. Let's find each other tonight. If you need some company, mama, take a chance on me. Don't hesitate. Let's find each other." But this is the part I think is interesting, thinking about what Peggy was doing. And it says, "You don't want to be like those other dreamers that dream about loving and never love. You want to be a screamer, so honey, I'm open, and honey, I'm hoping that if you need some company, take a chance on me. Don't hesitate now. Let's find each other tonight."
I think that kind of echoes what I was sort of saying about
absolutely.
her turn.
Touche, well played, Jose Feliciano. And it is also a song in the movie Fargo.
Oh, really? In the movie?
Joe, yeah, plays when in the scene here.
Oh, with the hooker.
Let's see if I can get it on.
Get it on, Bill.
Let's get it home.
Here it is.
Get it on.
Come on, YouTube, play.
You're gonna have a commercial.
Oh, I do. So, crime. They didn't pay us any money. I'm not going to let anyone hear their ad.
But in case you were wondering, a home break-in does happen every 22 seconds in America.
Not in Fargo, it doesn't.
No.
We are so much better here.
It's funny, I'll interject with a little bit of a Fargo insider. Everybody does the Nextdoor app, and and we have a Facebook page for our neighborhood and everything. And direct message right from the cop that we're his beat.
Yeah, I've had those too.
Be sure you lock your garage door.
Well, there's been a rash of break-ins.
Couple people been getting broken into.
Well, you know what? So thinking about hunting season and the TV show Fargo, people haven't been locking their doors and they've been stealing guns. They've been stealing.
Rifles,
people have been leaving rifles in their car.
My wife said that to me the other day. She goes, "Well, what the hell are people doing leaving their rifle in their car like overnight?" And it's like, well, I don't know. They're probably getting up at 4:00 in the morning. Going.
They're just getting everything ready. But I think it
seems logical.
It's hilarious that they do all that, but you have to be reminded to lock your door. That's never been.
Oh, hey, by the way, that 7mm rifle that you've got in your back seat, you should probably lock your car with that in there.
My dad's car was stolen in Fargo. We usually always locked our house, but we were living more closer to downtown. We weren't up north there. But my dad's car got stolen, and it was like, what? How does that happen? Well, it was in the driveway, and the keys were in it, and the doors were unlocked,
and it was running. No, there was a thing on the news the other day, though. Sorry, but people
this is what happens when we have Joe Riley on.
People are interested in Fargo, all right?
Sure they are.
It was on the news in the morning, and it was, well, temperatures are getting cold again. Everybody, don't forget, don't just leave your car running unattended with the keys in it.
Someone will steal it.
Yeah, it could get stolen. It's like, if you are ever up here in, December, January, February, there's a great chance that you're going to find dozens of cars every day, unattended, running, no one in them, no one around.
Yeah.
Just ripe for the picking,
Hopefully we didn't just become a hot source for thieves.
Yeah, right.
Joe also runs a chop shop for all of you interested.
Yeah, right.
If you guys are looking for hot crime tips, just follow on Twitter at FARJOE, Farjo.
No.
That's right.
That's where the crime tips are. Anyway, so Jose Feliciano at the Carlton Celebrity presents Jose Feliciano with a limited engagement from 1996 Fargo.
Goes like this. Let's find each other tonight. Everything will be all right. Don't hesitate now. Let's find each other tonight.
So, are you from around here?
Just in town on business. Just in and out. Just a little of the old in and out.
Sorry, I was going to stop it a few seconds before, but
why would
because
you?
I'm
You gotta have that in there.
because I wanted to let that play. Oh, just a little the old in and out.
Yeah.
So anyway, hats off to Jeff Tweedy, who is
Hats off to you, Bill, for catching that.
Well,
Yeah.
it's Wilco is one of my favorite bands.
Yeah,
And,
I got it right away.
I
as far as
heard. I
being
was like,
him,
oh,
but-
Jeff Tweedy's voice.
Yeah,
And we even got
Love you, Jeff Tweedy.
we got a confirmation on Twitter too, which was pretty awesome.
from the music supervisor.
Mhm.
So she's been helping pick those songs out. So I love what she's been doing. It's been awesome.
fantastic.
She and Jeff Russo has been rocking the score. So now that you know what, I'm going to do our last sponsor read, and then we can do our wrap up after that. Is that okay with you, Sharpie?
No, let's finish up with the gift of the Magi.
no,
Oh, fine. Be that way.
no, Bill.
So,
Do
so well, we were just talking about Peggy's gift being the cash for the car.
Yeah. How does this tie into your rant from Fargo and leaving your cars running? You turds.
We are
Don't do it.
fucking terrible at segues.
Oh wait. So the car. Speaking of Peggy selling her car, Sharpie, what happened with Ed?
Yeah. So, stealing cars,
married.
talking about cars. So Peggy sells her car, and that's her gift.
Ding 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 ding. Ding.
But we know the butcher shop has burned down, and on the hot dish, which is our quick reaction that comes out on Monday night. If you don't listen to that, just so you know, that we kind of briefly talked about the gift of the Magi, and we were talking about, so what's Ed's gift, and having a little bit more time to think about it, because we were wondering, like, is Ed's gift, just the sacrifice that now there is no butcher shop, so now they can do whatever they want. And I don't think it's exactly that, but what it is, I think, is the fact that Ed has now turned on his opinion, because actually the butcher shop doesn't exist. Ed's now done the 180. A lot of 180s in this episode.
Yep.
And he now wants to take off. So this whole time he's wanted to stay and, have the wife and the kids and the dog and the house
Right.
and the shop. And now he's complete opposite. Now he's like, Peggy, we gotta get the fuck out of here. Let's go right
it's
now.
funny too because it's the exact thing that Peggy said would happen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She's like, well, if they're coming and this is happening, we need to get out of here. And it was like, no, we'll make it work.
Oh yeah.
and then it's like, oh wait, no,
Lou was
the reality
right.
of
Lou
the
was right.
situation is you're going to get killed. And then it's like, once that it becomes a reality, then it's like, okay, yep, maybe you're right. We better get the fuck out of here.
And so
Again, he's too little too late, just like she's too
Exactly.
little too late. Again, it's the same. I agree
and
with
so
you. That's the gift.
his gift, which is, and just like her gift of the cash for the shop was negated by the shop being burned down, his gift of let's get the fuck out of here is negated by the fact that the police show up at their doorstep right as they're about to leave.
Poor Ed.
Poor old Ed.
Fucking stupid Ed. Although I do have to say, great with a cleaver.
Yeah, he knows how to. That scene too with Ed when Charlie's imagination runs wild, and he
Oh,
comes
yeah.
through and he's just like blood covered. and
Oh,
like,
right.
God.
That
The
was
satanic,
so awesome.
the butcher of Laverne.
And then it turns out he's just got some rashers.
He's just got some
Yeah.
rashers and some pork belly, and he comes out of that, and he's smiling, and he's kind of goofy.
Sorry, I was whatever he says halfway
Halfway
into a
into a
hog
hog.
or whatever.
I also love how polite Big Dumb Ed is
Yeah.
to Peggy when he's in a rush. She's got a whole bunch of stuff, and she's trying to give him all sorts of wonderful news, and he's like, "Huh? Yeah. Oh, that's great. Thank you."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we got to get the fuck out of town.
Yeah, it's
The
funny.
fact
He
that he,
lets her
like,
finish.
He
Yeah.
just lets her say what she's got, and then he thanks her, and then he moves on to his thing. He's like, one track mind, but she doesn't. No comment about why is there blood all over your shirt.
All right, so that's the gift of the Magi. Let's go into our sponsor break.
Second sponsor is Audible. If you go to Audible Trial, that's AUDIBLETRIAL.com, and sign up, you can get a free 30-day trial to Audible. And if you don't know what Audible is, and that means you haven't been listening to the show, and we keep explaining it to you, so I'm just going to skip that part. Unless you just tuned in this week, they're audiobooks, and they're awesome. And if you're already listening to a podcast, this is totally already up your alley. So every week we try to make our own recommendation for what we can do. We've done a lot of sci-fi, some dystopian future stuff. I threw out an Anthony Bourdain Kitchen Confidential, and this week, I'm going to make here's the deal. If you're going to get one free credit when you sign up for the 30-day trial and you want to stretch your trial, you need to go get the Brothers K. That's the Brothers K, like the letter K. Maybe it's about the Kitchen Brothers. Ooh, tie back.
Oh, the Brothers K.
But it has nothing to do with guys who mow down people. But the Brothers K is by David James Duncan, and this book is 28 plus hours long, and you're like, that's too long. No, it's not, because the story is awesome.
Okay, I'm looking that up right now.
David James Duncan wrote one of my other favorite books that I read in college, which is The River Why. But if you want bang for your buck for your free trial, I say go with the Brothers K, and it's a whole story about the Chance family. And here, I'm just going to read this straight from the thing. It's a father whose dreams of glory on the baseball field are shattered by a mill accident, a mother who clings obsessively to religion as a ward against the darkest hour of her past, and 4 brothers who come of age during a seismic upheaval of the 60s. And they have their own ways of dealing with this stuff, and it is seriously a fantastic book. I read it before Audible existed, or maybe they did exist, I just wasn't smart enough to have a membership back then. But I've already purchased this. It's in my library. I will be listening to this. I've been waiting for a really big trip that I know I'm going to be gone for a long time on to listen to it. And it's really fantastic.
You can get it for one credit.
One credit.
All you have to do is sign up and use our code, and that's $18.
Yep. So that's audibletrial.com/Fargo Talks Fargo. And I highly...
Well, it's a good way to make sure you get through a long book.
Yeah, it's really good.
What I like,
there's descriptive scenes in this book that here's the crazy part. It's all about a family that really loves baseball, and I don't really like baseball.
It's the worst sport.
But I love. But that's the thing is that it's the
America's pastime.
It is not.
America's pastime is drinking booze and getting fat, Joe.
Tailgating.
Oh, tailgating.
Let's just go with getting fat.
Sausage. So anyway, please go if you want to help support us and you're enjoying this show. Go to audibletrial.com/Fargo Talks Fargo and check out any of the books. If you're not down with that book, go back and check out any of the other recommendations that are underneath on our website, fargotalksfargo.com. If you click on any of the show episodes at the bottom underneath the picture, I always post if there's been a recommendation for a book that week. So that's my recommendation this week is The Brothers K by David James Duncan.
You know what else I like about Audible is like one of the things that I use it a lot for is you're constantly out there getting recommended books, and you gotta write that shit down. And so what I do is when somebody's like, "Oh, you got to read this book," so I go straight to the Audible app. I add it to my wish list. Now I got my wish list is 24 items. It's gonna take me a while to get through, but at least it's there because otherwise you forget. It's like you remember the days of going to the video store, like a Blockbuster or something like that.
Yeah.
And you like you have this entire idea of movies you want to see, but the second you walk into a video rental store, you don't remember a single one of them, and you just kind of walk up and down the aisles.
But we would love it if some of you would sign up because I truly think it's great. Anyway, you wanted to talk about the Solversons.
Yeah, because I thought the scene with Betsy and Molly and Hank Larson was pretty great, and it was both it was heart-wrenching. It was warming. It was
it was.
It was warming, but it was also very sad because, Ted Danson doesn't get a lot of play in this episode or in this season, really. But he definitely makes the most of it. So, I mean, he's just such a lovable character, and you can tell he's struggling with the fact that his daughter has lymphoma, and we learn that she's taking the drugs, the trial, Xanadu, and she's feeling very nauseous. Now, we don't know we like to think, and in Betsy's mind, she's remaining a little bit positive in the sense that she thinks she got the real drug because she's nauseous, because it's clearly not candy if it's making her sick, but it could be the cancer making her sick.
Or she's dying.
Yeah, right. Yeah, or it could be the stage 3 lymphoma.
Or it could be the lymphoma.
Everything about it is... I agree with you that there's a bunch of stuff I loved about this on my second time through.
Sure.
The
great acting.
That's what I'm...
it was just really good acting.
The moment...
Especially Ted Danson.
The moment where she and Hank moved from the dining room table and we even just stepping away from the UFO. Just step away from the UFO. His leaning across that counter island thing and just having to full-blown break that wall and just say, I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't.
I'm all
and
left thumbs
it's
here.
you know, everybody's got a parent, but I mean, even for me, my father's had some very similar health issues, and it's just hard. And then when you've got those and you know what that's like, it's rough. It's rough, but I think what it sets up for me in terms of Betsy and what it means to her having half of her mother's genes is that it's still it's reinforcing that next generation for Molly, that we already know what she's like the next section of her life that we have had a peek into, is that she's that same thing. She's smart, she's deductive, she understands people, she knows what to say, she knows how to sit in the pocket when she needs to, and she knows when to ask for help. And but yes, I think that scene I think it's fantastic, and just yeah,
and that's why I wanted to come back to it, because definitely worth talking about.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite scenes. I even like that she actually called Molly Mally.
I kind of caught that too.
And they left it in, and I wasn't sure if that was like an accident or if that was on purpose or whatever, but I loved the fact that it was
just her speech pattern kind of thing.
Yeah,
like
or if that was her sickness,
kind
of like screwing up her. Maybe it was the nauseousness. Like, she called her daughter Molly Mally, and it was very clear.
Right.
And there's a lot of green references, and Bill, you talked about this. Like, when we were watching the live broadcast of the show, Bill was like, "What's with all these green cups?" Because that's a color that we're not
there's
used
the
to
green
seeing.
cup, and there's just a few things, and it's just breaking, and then there's a blanket with green on it, so there's just these hints of colors. But I think, and it just might be pops of color that they've chosen to put.
But Betsy does say
on camera.
But Betsy mentions the fact that the cancer drug is probably not candy. Molly says, "Candy?" Like, immediately catches her attention. Betsy
and then she
comes
says,
back with,
"Eat something green and we'll talk."
Eat something green and we'll talk.
That did stand out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Green cup.
Again, great Midwestern dialogue going on in this scene.
And so there's this green. There's a dot of green, and like, so I'm scrubbing through this right now. In the drive. God, is it even in the driveway?
The cup.
No, starting with the shot right outside the place. And I don't care if it means something special. It just is what it is. Joe can see what I'm talking about. The opening shot, Sharpie, scrub through it right now. We're looking over the top of the cruiser and green car in the driveway. Just splash of green plus the green trees. Then you cut and you see a bunch of the regular scenes. And you cut to another thing, and eventually we get to this green cup in the middle of the table. And then you go a little farther in, and it cuts to a shot from the side, and there's the green cup. And then there's like a little green lower vase of some sort on the buffet, as my grandmother or somebody would call it.
That's what I'd call it.
And then you go a little farther forward, and even in the UFO, if it is the mother, father, dad's wearing the green shirt. Dad's wearing the green shirt. Hey, and it cuts back. It's like, so everything has like a splash of green in it. And then the blanket. It's just interesting.
In that scene when Hank comes up to the table. Is she hiding the picture that Molly drew, or is she hiding the pills?
I think she's hiding the trial.
Yeah, but she specifically talks to him about the drug.
Right. That's why I was kind of confused, because I thought at first she was hiding them from Molly. She's like, we don't want her to know that I'm sick, and we're trying to prevent her from knowing that. But then at the same time, then she's openly talking about it.
She's openly talking about it. I don't know. That's a good catch, Joe. She might be hiding the picture.
Yeah, like she hasn't quite put it together yet, but she knows this has triggered something for her, but she doesn't want to give it away yet because she hasn't figured it out completely.
I like the way you're thinking right now.
she gives so much to Hank and Lou and everybody, with her, natural detective instincts. I thought she was like, this just isn't quite done baking in the oven. I just need a little bit more time before I want to talk about
And the
this,
same goes for us.
Right.
That whole scene over that little kitchen island, everything's brown except for the there's a little pop of yellow on the dishes and the green strainer. I don't think it has to always mean something. I just think visually it's fascinating and interesting. I would love to hear the breakdown of it. But yeah, I think you guys are. Yeah, I mean, we don't know where this UFO thing's going, but
it is blatantly not blatantly because I didn't even notice it the first time. But it is interesting, Joe, how you bring that up. How she's kind of hiding that picture.
I did like the. We didn't talk a lot about the struggle in the butcher shop, but man, Ed's he stays in it.
For a second, I thought he was going to give up.
Shoot.
Mm-hmm. Like when he was getting choked out.
Yeah, when he was getting choked out, I thought maybe Ed's going to just like kind of give up.
Well, I thought so too, especially with sort of whether you want to call it foreshadowing or not, but when what's the shop?
Bud's Meats?
Bud's Meats?
Well, no, sorry.
Noreen?
Noreen, thank you. When she's talking about the book and she's saying, well, it doesn't matter, you're going to die, and then your grandfather, well, then what happened? He died, And
I think that's great writing.
And I thought that because they just had gone through that's why Bud was going to give up.
Yep.
Because in his mind, he was just talking to her and it was like, well, fuck it, give up. You're just going to die anyway. And then it was like, nope, found whatever the hell it was and smashed him in the head.
So continuing with side notes, we're not sure about what's with Ed's long stare at the painting.
I don't know.
Of the cows in the field with the barn and the white thing. I'm not sure if I know what that is yet, but it's not nothing. Why the?
Yeah, because they definitely made a point to have him stare at that painting, and then they go back to the painting, and then back to Ed. It was like, what is the significance there?
I think, and it's just so it's a bunch of cows in a field. So yes, he's a butcher. He works with it. I don't know. I haven't pinned that one. I haven't pinned those pieces together yet. Sharpie, do you have any? I mean, I don't.
I thought we saw something similar in the courthouse. I'm looking back right now. It's probably. We have to catch up.
Which episode was that?
On this,
3?
On the next episode, probably. But
yeah, we shouldn't break this down now. But either way, yeah. So there's something to that. Nothing happened with Constance outside of the fact that she was sitting with Betsy at the thing. So I don't know. I don't have any other weird noticeable points. But so here's the deal. We'll wrap it up here. We want to thank Joe so much for coming on again. And next week we have another guest coming on. And then we've got another one lined up for the week after. Carmela's going to come on she runs a Tumblr about Fargo, and she was on last season. She's going to be coming on next week if that all works out. She's from Melbourne, Australia, so that's our international guest we're going to have on the show.
Great.
Good day, mate.
Hello,
throw another shrimp on the barbie.
Thank you for putting that in there, Joe.
We ruined.
Had everything. To. I wouldn't. When was I going to ever have that opportunity?
We ruin everything. But so that's going to happen. So if there's anything you think of in between, though, we loved getting an email this week. It was really fun to see those things, and it'll be great to see if any of those ideas that come to fruition. Feel free. We love seeing that you guys are tweeting us, and when we can, we answer. So we're at Fargo Talks Fargo on Twitter. On Facebook, we're facebook.com/Fargo Talks Fargo. If you want to follow Sharpie, he's on Twitter as well at CHARPIE. You can find me at LEM as in Mary, P as in Paul, E on Twitter. And if you want to follow Joe, is your Twitter account public or no?
It was. I don't think it is anymore.
Well,
so
don't follow at Farjo. He doesn't want to share with you. But that's where you can do it. We welcome all interaction with you guys. And I still got to do it, man. I'm gonna figure out how to FedEx you fresh old fashions donuts, Sharpie. I think about it. I've been thinking about it ever since that. I can't get away from it. That that you need to have one. I know you don't love sweets, but you didn't know what? Did you? I'm sorry. It's happening. It's happening here, folks. Joe,
rabbit hole.
Did you know what an old fashioned was?
I didn't know it
Outside
by
of
the name old fashioned.
Did you know it as an old fashioned sour cream?
I knew it as a sour cream cake donut.
Would you have known it as a sour cream if they had called it that?
No, man, I don't know cakes.
And love them.
My favorite. Well, did you listen to the episode? Lie to me. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Like I would lie to me.
Of course I did. Yeah.
My favorite donut. So that's the scoop. I feel like if somebody's in like the United States and you don't know what one of these is, I feel like I want to do some sort of contest where I will FedEx once. I'm going to test it with Sharpie as my guinea pig. And at the end of the season, if we can get these to Sharpie, and if you have never had these donuts and you trust us, I will FedEx you.
How about we get listeners to FedEx?
You can't get one in Denver?
Oh my God, that would be fun. You really want to give out your address to a ton of people over the internet?
And you want to eat a donut mailed to you by a complete stranger?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually want to see this. Let's do
weird.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, okay,
we'll
folks.
End the
so
show. We'll talk later.
That is another episode of Fargo Talks Fargo, episode 5, The Gift of the Magi. We can't wait to see what comes up in episode 6. Thanks again to Joel for being on the show. Sharpie, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, I think so.
You need it. I'm not going to end with that. You need to be more like, are you going to be here?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'll definitely be here.
Oh, great. All right, folks, take care.